guys, I know I haven't made one of these, but I just saw a movie that made me so angry and so disappointed that I decided to make another to revive this whole channel and make another review. So, this is my review of Wonder Woman. Okay, so there's gonna be a non-spoiler section and a spoiler section. So if you don't want spoilers, you can watch. I'll let you know when I'm gonna go into spoilers, so don't worry. So the first 2/3 of this movie, fantastic, so good. It's great. There's great action sequences. There's some really good dialogue. There are like some conversations between characters that I was like, oh, I've never seen that in a movie before. That's great. Keep doing that, DC. That's great. And they keep painting like these characters as morally gray, and like there's no one good person and one all bad person. Like they're all like shades of gray, and there's only like one bad person, and I'm not gonna spoil it, so I'll talk more about that in the spoiler section. And it's like, yeah, I know what you're going for. You're building up to this huge thing, and I really like what you're going. And then it gets to like the end of the second act of the film, and it throws all of that out the window, and it just ruins everything. I'm talking like this movie was an 8, and it went all the way down to like a 5. Like it's bad. It's like really bad. I was in shock. And I was about to walk out of the theater. If there weren't like 2 other strangers sitting next to me, I straight up would have walked out of the theater. I'm not even joking. And I'll go into more of that in the spoilers too. All right, okay. I'm getting ahead of myself. All right, so let's break it down. Gal Gadot's performance, great. She's really good. She's any doubt that you had from Batman v Superman or something, don't worry. She's fine. She's really good. She's fantastic in this movie. Robin Wright's in this movie. I didn't even recognize Robin Wright. She's wearing like this kind of horn, like this like crown thing. It's really cool. She's awesome too. She's Robin Wright. Of course she's awesome. Chris Pine's funny. He's good. He's good as the secondary character, and we'll come back to that later. His secretary, she's funny. She's really good. She doesn't overstay her welcome. She's fine. She's really good. Yeah, it's just all of the individual characters are really tight. It's just the story is what I have such a problem with, and we'll go into specifics in the spoiler section. I keep saying in the spoiler section, but like it's really hard to completely voice my complaints without spoiling it, because like I have a problem with the ending and like how they resolve everything. So if you're really curious, or if you don't want to see Wonder Woman, go ahead to the spoiler section. But like right now we're talking non-spoilers. Cinematography, great. Action sequences, really great. I saw it with my girlfriend, and there were some sequences where she's not even a big action movie person. We were like hitting each other, and we were like, oh my god, that's so cool. Like really cool stuff. Patty Jenkins really knows how to shoot action. Good job. That's one thing that's spectacular. The second act of this movie, where she like goes and actually fights, so good. The score was okay. You know, I'm a big movie score person. It was fine. They keep bringing back the Hans Zimmer composed theme. It's really cool. The one you heard in Batman v Superman. It's really good. That's cool. Good job, Hans Zimmer, even though he didn't compose the score. Otherwise, the score was pretty just meh. Very basic superhero score-y. Yeah, there were some cool colors, some cool shots. There were some really cool shots, actually. There's like one shot where she's like riding a horse, and they shot it like bird's eye and then sideways, so she's like trotting across the frame like this. Like she's running across like that, and the camera like moves like that, like a pendulum above her. That was a really cool shot. There's some cool shots in this movie. Good cinematography. It's just really, it's the script. It's the script, and it's such a shame because it really hurts the movie for me. Yeah, I'm not gonna give my final verdict until like I get past the spoilers. So if you want to skip to the final verdict, I'll put like an annotation somewhere. I don't know, somewhere. So we are going into spoilers. So if you don't want the movie spoiled, turn back now, because I'm straight up gonna spoil it. Cool? Okay, so the basic plot is that I just dropped the thing. So the basic plot is that Wonder Woman, she's living on whatever, I don't know how to pronounce the island that they live on, but they live on this island that's like hidden away from all of mankind. And then Chris Pine accidentally like flies into it as his airplane is being shot down, and then a bunch of Germans, it's World War One, a bunch of Germans follow him, and they're like, and then there's this whole fight. Wonder Woman's mentor dies, and she's like, I'm gonna go and fight these evil monsters, and then she goes in. So, and then this whole movie, this is her exposure, her first exposure to mankind, and this whole movie they play with these. She believes there's Ares, the god of war, who is causing this world war, and once she kills Ares, then the world war will stop. And every time she says this, the other characters are like, I don't know, okay, whatever you say, Wonder Woman. And then she learns about, the allies are like the good guys, but they've still committed war crimes. Like this war, no one wins in a war. There's casualties on both sides. And she's learning about like the moral ambiguity of man, and she's learning, the human experience. And there's this fantastic conversation in the beginning of the film where her and Chris Pine talk about sex. And she knows what sex is, and she knows like the difference between like sex for procreation and sex for pleasure. And she's like, oh, well, there's this book where I come from, and it says that men are necessary for procreation, but otherwise for pleasure they are unnecessary. And it's funny, and it's like, okay, so she doesn't care about sex. There's going to be no romance. There's a romance. Bad. It's her and Chris Pine. And at first, it's like, okay, at first I was like, okay, maybe it's because she's learning the human experience. Chris Pine's probably going to die anyway, so it doesn't matter. And she's just learning how to be human. She's just going to care about him more, and then he's going to kill off, and then she's going to be like bitter and cold like she is in Batman v Superman. Whatever. I'm not that upset. And then, dear God, and then we get to the end of the second act. So the whole thing, they've been building up. She believes that this one German general is Ares in disguise, and that if she kills him, the war is over. And everyone's like, I don't know, Wonder Woman, like that's probably not going to happen. And she's like, no, I must do this. And so she goes, she kills the general, and nothing happens. The war is still happening. And there's this fantastic moment where Chris Pine is there, and he's like, what happened? And she's like, I killed him, but nothing is changing. And Chris Pine has this whole thing about like, maybe it's not that simple. Maybe people can just be bad. Maybe it's in every person. And it's like this whole idea of like moral ambiguity, and how like she has to cope with the fact that not everyone is as pure as the Amazonians. Not everyone is all just. Mankind is corrupt, and she's gonna have to live with that. And I thought she was going to become more cynical and more bitter. And then I thought Chris Pine was going to go and die, and that was going to make her more cynical. And that was like why she's so bitter and like Batman v Superman or so cold or whatever. I don't know. Okay, before I go, doesn't that sound cool? Doesn't the idea of a superhero movie not dealing with like, I am good and you are bad, doesn't that idea of moral ambiguity, dealing with the fact that every single person on the planet has a little bit of evil in them and has that capacity and isn't all black and white, isn't that good? Wouldn't that be fantastic? And I thought what they were going to do, they were going to pull an Iron Man 3 and make Ares more of a symbolic character, like how Iron Man does with the Mandarin. I thought they were going to do like, there's always going to be an Ares. And it's not one person, it's in the heart of every man. And that's why she stays on Earth and that's why she stays with mankind and doesn't return to her island, because she will always be there to defend mankind against Ares or something. And like she was going to help because mankind is corrupt, but also there is some good. And she has to be there always defending them. Wouldn't that be cool? That's decent motivation, right? Am I crazy for thinking that? But no! As soon as that whole cool speech about moral ambiguity happens, completely throw it out the door. And David Twellis's character, David Twellis is the actor who plays Professor Lupin in the Harry Potter series, and he's the main guy in Anomalisa. He had this minor character as like the commander. It's like it was Chris Pine's superior in like MI6 or something. He was like, oh, well, I'm not okay with you going out and ignoring orders, but I was a spry young man once, so you know what? I'm going to support you. And that's it. And then he's like really not in the movie that much. He just randomly teleports in and he's Ares? What? It's so stupid. It's so dumb. And it's oh my god. And he appears and he's like, I'm Ares, and now we are going to join me, Diana, and we're going to destroy mankind. And it's so stupid. It's so stupid. And oh my god. And so that was the first big thing where I was like, this is fucking dumb. Then I was gonna be like, okay, maybe they can salvage this. This isn't at all what I wanted, but maybe, I don't know. And then, so remember that cool morally gray motivation I was talking about for Wonder Woman? How like she believes in the good of mankind even though there's gray, and she has to learn to live with that. And that's like kind of morally ambiguous as well. That doesn't make her all good or all bad. Wouldn't that be cool? No. What happens is she's fighting Ares. I keep saying Hades because they're pretty much the same thing. They're just like, ooh, I'm evil. So she's fighting Ares. Chris Pine like flies these bombs because there's this whole subplot about like these mustard gas or something. He's flying this airplane full of bombs out, and he blows up the airplane himself. He sacrifices himself. She looks up and she's like, no! And then she uses her anger to get the upper hand on Ares, and she says this one line, and this is where I was gonna walk out of the film. It's like, not about what you do, it's what you believe, and I believe in love. What? So that flimsy romance between her and Chris Pine that I thought was just going to be a minor thing, so she would just care about him more a little bit, so it's like an extra sting when he dies. No, that's her whole motivation. What? Wonder Woman, the super independent, strong woman figure that you're painting with your woman, is only strong enough to defeat her enemies when she falls in love with a man. That's what you're doing. That's what you're reducing your character to. They had this beautiful, morally gray area where they were going to have characters and no one is all right, and that's good. That's good writing. Threw it out the window and just did this stupid fucking ending. And it's so dumb. It's so dumb. I was laughing. I was laughing because she says that line. She's like, and I believe in love. Because right before Chris Pine goes and sacrifices himself, like Wonder Woman gets like hit by a big blast and like her ears, it's doing that thing in movies where her ears are ringing and it's like, and she can't hear anything, and he runs up to her and he's like, and then he runs away. And then for some reason they cut back to it like 5 minutes later, and now she can understand what he's saying. And he's like, I love you. And he runs away, and then he blows up. First off, they've been together for 3 days. Stupid. You shouldn't love each other. That's really fucking dumb. And second off, the fact that that's her whole motivation, this flimsy romance they developed in 2 scenes, that's Wonder Woman's whole motivation for staying with mankind. How fucking stupid is that? It's so dumb. And I can't believe they had this whole beautiful, morally gray, 3-dimensional ending laid out for them. They had this whole thing with this 2-dimensional German character who was like, I am evil and I am going to finish the war. That was Russian, but I'm sorry. But they had this whole 2-dimensional character, and I was like, the characters are good, but this guy's bad. Then she kills him because she thinks he's Ares. But no, he was just a dick. He wasn't Ares. And they could have subverted this whole thing with like these 2-dimensional comic book supervillains where it's like there's really no motivation other than like, ooh, I'm evil and I want to take over the world. And you think that's it because like she thinks he's Ares, and then she kills him and he's not Ares, and it's like, whoa, that's really cool. Did they just subvert like the whole idea of 2-dimensional supervillains where like you think that's what's happening and it's really not? And sometimes people are just bad. Sometimes people are just dicks, and it doesn't have to be a thing where it's like you're a supervillain or something. Wouldn't that be cool? Wouldn't that be cool if there was no Ares and it was just like the morally ambiguous nature of humankind? Wouldn't that be awesome? But no, it's not. It's just a stupid fucking CGI paint by numbers third act climax. It's so dumb. They threw it all out the window. They took everything that this film was going for, like everything good that was going for this film, and they just threw it out the fucking window. And it's so dumb. Like this movie, like before that third act, it was like an 8 for me, and now it's like a 5 out of 10. Like honestly, I am so disappointed, and I'm so mad with this film, and it sucks because it has like a 76 on Metacritic and a 93 on Rotten Tomatoes as I'm making this review right now. And how is no one, how are the fans, maybe I can understand because there's DC fanboys, whatever, but how are the critics going to this movie, sitting down and watching this and being like, yeah, no, that's a 93 on Rotten Tomatoes? How is no one seeing this? How is no one seeing how shitty this is? How disappointing this is? How harmful this is as a role model for women? How terrible this is as the golden standard for DC comic book movies? It's bad in every aspect. How is this that good? And it sucks. That really sucks. And I'm just very upset with this film. I've never been more disappointed in a film, and I've never wanted to walk out of a movie more. And if I weren't so anxious with strangers, I totally would have walked out. But there were 2 people sitting next to me, and I didn't want to block their view on my way out. But dear fucking God, was this movie terrible. 5 out of 10. That's my final verdict. It's a 5 out of 10. It could have been the first 2/3 of this movie, 8 out of 10. The last third, 5 out of 10. Combine it all, it's a 5 out of 10 because it disappointed me so much. That's my final verdict for this movie. Just damn. So much potential. So much fucking potential wasted. Could have been such a fantastic movie, and whoever wrote this film, shame on you. You wrote a fucking terrible script, and you should not write movies anymore. Because wow, you just wrote a disappointing fucking movie. No, don't go and see Wonder Woman, because maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I really don't think I'm wrong. I think I'm completely correct. But maybe I am wrong. Maybe the majority of people don't have an issue with it. Maybe I'm being overdramatic. Maybe I'm reading too far into it. But I really don't think I am. I just wanted to make this review because so many people are just giving this glowing reviews. DC's best movie. One of the best superhero movies of 2017. It's not. Don't go and see that with those high expectations, because they will be shot down. This is not the Messiah movie of DC. This is not that at all. So it's not don't go and see Wonder Woman, because there are some great aspects of it. There's some great action. Gal Gadot, however you say it, she's great. Great cinematography. There's good aspects. It's just just know what you're walking into. Know that you're walking into some disappointment. Don't go into it like I did, thinking that this is going to be an amazing movie, because it's not going to be, and you're just going to get angry and disappointed. So, yeah, that's my review of Wonder Woman. I think it sucked, and I hated it, and see it if you want, but I don't think you should. All right, bye.